All right, another episode of...
Why did he say take two?
He says take one every time.
Yeah, and that time he said take two.
Did he?
He's being funny.
Welcome to another episode of Standup Memories. This is Jackie the Joke Man.
My job is to try and confuse Peter.
You're doing a good job.
I never
This
get away
is
with
Jackie the Joke Man Martling.
You almost forgot your name just now.
Please. I did. This is Jackie the Joke Man Martling.
This
I
is-
am Peter Bales, and you can introduce
Right.
our
This
As
guest.
opposed to Jackie the plumber, Martling.
That's right.
Don't rule it out. This is our stellar guest. Stellar Joey Kola. One of
Hi
the
guys. Hello.
top comedians, actors, performers. He knows The Sopranos, so don't screw with him. He opens up for every TV show there ever was. And we are thrilled to have him because he's an old, classic, terrific
It's an honor
friend.
to be here with you guys. Obviously, you know, I idolize both of you. You've started so many comedians in the New York tri-state area, and it's an honor to be with both of you.
He has
Well-
so many great credits, and he's just done so many things, and then he lowers himself to say the weirdest titles.
Yeah.
But what's the best part of this show?
This is a
leaving
special
it.
show. This is a special show.
We have a special guest.
We are doing something different, groundbreaking.
We were
This-
so famous for having a show that never has had a woman, let alone a gorgeous woman.
And you better be nice.
And I've known this.
Who, you?
You!
I've known this lovely lady for as long as I've known
42
you.
years. Well,
Yes.
I'm doing it 42 years, so I know both of you 42 years.
And Joey has a better half, and we want to bring her on camera so that you can see what it's like to be the wife of a super successful stand-up comedian. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Leanora Kola.
Hi.
All right, there she is. Oh, isn't that beautiful?
Hi,
So nice
sweetie.
to see you. I'll lean over and let's do a show business kiss. Mwah. Okay, perfect.
And now go ahead, disavow every story Joey has told.
Where do we start?
Where do we start? I went to St. John in the Virgin Islands with these two lovely people. Joey brought me to open for him, and you were pregnant with
Maria.
with
yeah.
Maria, with your
That
daughter
was
Maria.
crazy of me to
Who had the show down? Was it, what's his name?
No, it wasn't. It was just a one-off. This guy saw me at Governor's, and he said, I live in St. John. I have a couple of rooms that want to do comedy. Do you want to come down? And I said, well, what kind of money is it? He goes, what do you need? He gave me half of it up front, and he said, bring anybody you want. And
Oh, we
course,
had
chose
so
him.
much fun.
Because Ben Creed had a regular show going down there.
I didn't know that.
Oh.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
All right, so let's not get away from you.
Yeah.
So how long ago did you guys meet?
We met in.
I was in high school.
Yeah. She
Wow.
was 17. I was 19. I'm 61. So.
You met in
were
high,
college
high
boy.
school.
Yeah.
So he was
80, 81, like
two
that.
grades ahead of you?
Yeah.
He
No,
was an
actually
older.
Three.
He was an older. 3 grades.
Yeah.
Three.
Yeah.
He was
Oh.
79.
We're
I
from the
was
same
8.
neighborhood.
And you had already started comedy?
No, I
No.
met her first.
Now
And you encouraged him.
you didn't go to the
No.
see. You didn't.
I did my parents.
You're going to do what?
You couldn't have gone to the senior prom together because you would have been 3 years out.
Well, we did go to my senior prom together.
Oh, but he was coming back to high school for that.
Yeah.
Oh, you went to the senior prom together?
We went
What?
to my senior prom together.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And-
why. That's wild. You went to the same high school.
Right. Well, we lived 3 blocks away from each other.
But we
So,
never knew each
not
other.
to be rude, but he had his eye on you for a while.
Well,
No. Well, we didn't really even know. I knew his brother, and I knew his mother because his mother was like this little bitty 4'10" thing, and her name was Jo, and she was very talkative and.
So she knew the
So
neighborhood.
yeah, everybody in the neighborhood knew Joe, not this Joe. And,
Josephine.
Yeah,
And your brother was younger?
younger.
his brother was
by
younger,
20
so
months.
I knew
yeah.
his brother.
Yeah.
So how did you react when Joey told you he's going into stand-up comedy?
You know, I don't think he actually ever said.
You kind of segue your life
Well,
into
we
it.
met
Yeah.
way before that. Tell them about the baby carriages.
Oh well, apparently, yeah, because the South Shore Mall in Bayshore was here, and Joe, from where Joe's parents lived, they had to pass my house to get there. So his mother would be pushing him and his brother in the carriage and pick up me and my mother along the way.
And the
But-
baby carriages with her and her sister.
Yeah, but don't you think teenagers, they were a little old to be pushed
Yeah.
like that?
Well, we met as little kids, and then we met at a.
But wait, if you're 3 years older, you're 7, and you're not in a baby carriage at 7.
No,
No.
I was like,
You're
I
4
guess
and you're
I was
1?
2 or 3, and she was a newborn. And my mother pushed my brother and I in a carriage. Her mother pushed her and her sister in a carriage. They walked to the mall, had lunch at Walgreens or whatever, and came back. But then cut to 17 years later, I didn't know that she lived in the house that she lived in. And we went, my brother's friend had a graduation party right next door.
Yep.
And she had long black hair and tan, and I thought she was a foreign exchange student. So I show up at this party, and my brother's wife, who was his girlfriend at the time, was there, and was in her grade. So I didn't know her at all. So I see her, and I'm like, oh my God. I said, listen, the food's not coming out at this party. Would you like to go to Burger King? Burger King. Thinking she's from like Costa Rica.
And you, at this point, you're still in high school?
Mm-hmm.
She's
so you're
17,
like-
I'm 19.
Yeah.
That's your age.
And she
when
goes,
you
why are you talking like that? I live right next door. And I was like, bingo.
met. You had never seen her?
No.
No.
No, but
Not since we were little.
I mean, it sounds weird, but 3 blocks is a long ways away.
Well, she
Actually.
was at
I was at your house several times at parties that his brother had.
huge parties, but there was 1,000
But,
people.
yeah, there were always a lot of
But you started going out. I mean, there must have been a moment when you decided there's more to this than just going to Burger King.
That's exactly right.
At
Did it
what
happen?
point of the Burger King date
Well,
were
he
you
ordered a
infatuated?
veal Parmesan sandwich at Burger King. So there almost was not a second date.
Yeah.
Veal Parmesan
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
Burger King.
And then we met about a week later.
Wait, when you say there almost wasn't a second date,
I'm
because you were chased by
Italian.
the veal Parmesan or so attracted to it, it was right into
Oh,
marriage?
no,
And then
I'm
a
going,
week
oh
later
my God,
at
a veal
IHOP,
Parmesan at Burger King.
A week later at IHOP, he had calamari. And
Who does
there was
that?
that was it. That was almost the end of the relationship right there.
before it even started.
But that's so you're at the party and the food's not coming out. Let's go get something
Burger
to eat.
King. Yeah.
Burger King.
I changed my voice to like make it sound like what I thought she was, and she goes, "I live right next door, you idiot." And then like a couple weeks later, we were at a disco, and she was with a guy she was breaking up with, and I was with a girl that I was breaking up with, and I see her and her friends, on a dance floor, and I'm like, "That's the girl from the backyard." So I go over there, and I said, "If you dance with me now, I'm gonna second date. I'm gonna buy you a Mercedes Benz." And she never got it.
Still waiting.
Hold
We've
on,
been
hold
together
on.
ever
You buried the lead. So when you went to Burger King, you were both cheating.
No, it
I
was
don't think
friendly
so.
at Burger
You
King.
said no.
Yeah.
You said a couple weeks later you
Well, I
were
think
breaking up
Michelle
with your
came with
girlfriend.
us.
She was breaking up with her
I
boyfriend.
had a loose relationship with this girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I guess you would say that, Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's
I knew
the ticket.
I knew the girl who I was breaking up with was dumping me anyway, because she was with her old boyfriend.
Leanora, I have to ask you, and I think the people watching want to know this. Being married to a stand-up comedian, does Joey ever bring a bad show home with him?
Yeah.
And quite the opposite, right?
Yeah.
When I was married,
definitely.
I don't know about you, Joey, but we always think we act the same. And you act this way and you're married and blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, I do a show and the next day, and my wife Nancy would go, "It's pretty obvious who had a killer show last night." I'm like, "What are you talking about? I guess there's a little spring in your step, right?" Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
and conversely,
And I also know the shows that he's worried about that are coming up by
Yes.
the way that he acts as well.
High highs and low lows
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, this.
Yeah, you
in
start.
between.
Is the toughest part of being married to a comedian the travel that he has to do, because he's away
Yeah.
sometimes?
You know, in the beginning, when we first got married or were dating, it was exciting because I had a job where I could take off and travel with him, and so we got to, go to a lot of.
We did the
places
road together. We were
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
road.
But then once we got married and we had kids, then that, put a squash on.
Now,
that.
you knew my first wife, Geraldine, and I'll never forget, she was at one of my shows, sitting on the side, and I could see her, and I'm really doing well with the crowd, and I look over, and she is literally absolutely sound asleep.
Oh, that'll
Yeah,
pull
been
that'll
there.
pull the plug right
Yeah,
out.
but I think I've been
You
there
did that
too.
a lot of times. She did the governors. At one point I said to the audience, I go, everybody quiet, and I just heard in the back, and I go, "That's my wife."
That's so great.
It's great.
Can you
Nothing
help him? Can
but-
you help him with material?
Inadvertently, yeah.
No, sometimes you write some good funny stuff.
Yeah, I think I've come up with a
Yeah,
couple
she
of
comes up with a
things.
lot of premises that I would have never thought of, and I'm like, wow.
So
there's
she
a lot
chases
there.
you down that road, and then you.
Yeah, if it's an obvious, it's if she sees something that I don't see and it's a great premise, I'll write on it, and she'll be like, see that, she's responsible for writing a good chunk
Give
of
me
my
my
act.
percentage.
Well, all right,
So at what
it's in the
point?
mail.
At what point did you decide to have kids because you were doing well enough in comedy, or just because it was time, or?
I think more just because it was time.
It was time.
think-
I was 30. You
Yeah.
were 28. We had the house.
You
we
know,
built-
and if
so
Joey was
young,
able
but-
to do it, you might as well take advantage because you know that could never
Exactly.
happen
It's
again.
when I
Right.
still had swimmers.
Right. They were still swimming. Is
Yeah,
that what it
I
is?
still had swimmers. It wasn't powder at that point.
Yeah.
So,
My God.
so yeah, we bought my wife's grandparents' house in North Belmore, and we had the house, and I was working. My calendar was pretty full, road and home stuff.
You know what? I think too we were young and we just didn't know any better. Like looking back now, I'm like, what the hell were we thinking? Like
Yeah,
we bought
but-
a house based on comedy,
Based
had
on
a
promises from
family.
Lou Stevens, a local
Yeah.
booker.
Well, I was broke when we bought the house. As soon as we bought the house, all my money went there. And the next night, do you remember, we had no furniture in the living room?
Yeah.
And we had no money, and I went to Hardee's and got a burger, and we split the burger on the floor in the living
Yeah,
room.
we couldn't
Oh,
afford
man.
ketchup.
Yeah.
Remember we got
And
the
we-
little
Yeah, we
packets?
got one
Which
package
is
of ketchup.
that's one of those things that's so sad, and then in retrospect, it's such a fond memory.
Yeah.
Like,
Unbelievable. I could see
my
it.
mother
I
used to
couldn't-
say, if you wait till you can afford to have kids, you will never have kids.
That's right.
right, yeah.
She used to say.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked about this, and in previous shows, Joey has been sharing about how difficult it was for all comedians to start out. I never encouraged my own kids to become comedians because I didn't want to put them through that difficult starting period. Did you encourage your kids to do comedy? Or?
No.
No.
No,
My
never.
son's in show business, but he works for IFC in the movie business. And my daughter has Wish Upon a Bride, which is she cuts the hair of bridesmaids
It's a
and
bridal
stuff.
business, yeah.
And it's a bridal business, and they're both doing very, very well. But I never encouraged
No, I
them
would-
to do that.
I would actually discourage.
Yeah.
You would? Okay,
Yeah.
so now that's pretty important to hear. You would discourage it because you saw the difficult side of it. At the same time, you saw, I'm sure, plenty of
She
good
lived
things.
it. She lived it.
She lived it.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, it was hard when looking back now, when we had our kids, we didn't have medical benefits and, all of those things that you don't realize how
You don't
important
realize
they
what-
are
how
until
they're
you
gonna-
need them.
Crash on your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and she had to put up with all my different moods, like we were talking about before. The high highs, but the low lows are what resonate also. I did the cruise ships.
Right.
I did the cruise ships for a little while, and if you do well on the cruise ships, they want you on not a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month sometimes. So I had a
Yeah.
nervous breakdown, and
that
she
was
saved
tough,
my
'cause
life.
That was pre-cell phone, so it's, you can't talk to each
So
other.
he's just gone.
So he's
Gone.
gone, and I have, a 2-year-old and an infant at home.
Oh, wow,
Yeah,
okay.
so
It's
But
hard
you-
enough when you go
needed the
for a
money.
weekend and you spend 2 days completely all alone in
Yeah.
the weekend
Right.
in Norwalk, Connecticut.
That's right, and at that point it was $2,500 a week, which in the '80s was
A lot of
gold.
money,
That was a
yeah.
lot of money. So I can be out for 4 weeks, come home with 10 grand.
No place to spend it, the whole deal.
No, and I ate for free, and then everybody was giving me cigars and silk shirts, and I was living the high life, but I wasn't where I wanted to be with my wife and my little baby daughter. So I had a nervous breakdown. What happened was I was out, and I came back for a day, and then Leanora said to me, "Can you go to the store and just pick up some, cheese and eggs and milk or whatever, some bread?" And I'm on the front lawn with my hedge clippers, clipping my azaleas. Beautiful sunny day. And then the next day I had to go to Milwaukee to Comedy Cafe and do a week there. And I turn around and I go, what else do you want from me? I was just out for a month. I'm home for a day. I'm trying to get everything done, and I got to go out tomorrow. I got to repack, and now you want me to go to and I had a breakdown. So she goes, first put the hedge clippers down. And then she said, we sat down, and then she said to me, she saved my life.
I believe you.
She said, we're going to make money together and on land, and whatever happens, we're in this together. And that's the only thing that got me through to where I am now. And ironically, a few weeks later, I got a call to be a warm-up guy with Jon Stewart, and then the Rosie O'Donnell thing, and that was almost 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And I became a warm-up guy, and I never had to go back on
That
cruise
is
ships.
That was
the
really the best.
exact parallel, kind of parallel, because I was at the point where I was going out. I was on the Stern Show, but only one day a week, and I was, going out and doing the week in Nashville, or doing the Funny Bones in St. Louis, but then the Funny Bones in Knoxville. And I wasn't really a guy that did this, to hop around, but 2 weeks, or me and Jenny were in the South for 3 weeks, which was an eternity,
Right.
and you just go crazy because the whole day you're sitting around all goddamn day for that 45 minutes that night. God forbid, and it's a Wednesday night and you're in Columbia, Georgia, and it's a complete waste of time. Like, what am I doing?
What am I doing?
And I remember
Yeah.
so distinctly, I was in Nashville at Zany's, and I was like, I can't do this. And I called home and I said, Nancy, I am freaking out. And in those days, you just didn't call home because the calls were so expensive. You leave your paycheck.
Yep.
I said, what am I going to do? I can't handle this. And she said, well, just stop going on the road. It'll fill in. And in fact, that night, I was on fire at Nashville, in the Nashville Zanies. And if you see the movie The Aristocrats, I'm flailing around on the floor of my apartment. I was doing an impression of myself telling the Aristocrats at Zanies because I was so high and so crazy. I told the absurd version of the joke, but that was it. I didn't go. They said, "What's going on?" I said, "I'm done with the road. I'm celebrating."
Yeah.
And like 2 weeks later, I said, Howard, I'm not going on the road anymore. I'm available whenever. And all of a sudden, I was on 3 days, 4 days, and and
Same
it just
thing.
filled in like boom.
People don't know how difficult the road is. The time, I'm sure my first marriage was lost because of the time on the road and doing stand-up. Joey, you are so lucky that Leanora settled in your
she-
relationship.
Like Charlie Goodnight's, Charlie Goodnight's in Raleigh, North Carolina. I first went down there for Tom Williams, and I was doing all the shows. Caroline's Evening at the Improv. Back then in the 80s, you did 1 million shows, and I did all of them 3-4 times. So I had some heat. So I was able to headline down there, and in between shows, I called Leanora, and I was on. I'll never forget. I could see it. I was on a fire escape out the back, and it was June, so the sun set late. And I was just about to go on stage, and I was like, I can't do this, I can't do this. And I called her up by one of the office phones, and I said, I'm having a problem. I miss you so much. She said, get on stage. You're doing this for us. You're doing this for our mortgage. You're doing this for this.
Nice.
You're doing it to make my nut, as I used to say to you.
Monthly nut.
Right.
Monthly
She
nut.
got me on stage. She talked me through it through the
Nice.
phone. And then I was able to bring her down there, and a few times.
Yeah,
Right?
I think we
In
went
Raleigh.
actually with the kids, but a lot
That
of
was
times,
a
like
great-
people always say, like, why don't you just travel with him? But it's not as if, like, he's working in Florida and we could go to Disney World during the day and then he's going to work at night.
Right,
It's
right,
not
right.
like that. He's got to
I
prepare
understand.
all
There's
day
nothing to
or
do
whatever.
together.
Yeah.
Well, we did the
And
Disney
he
World
has
thing.
to eat at a certain time of the day, and like it's not a vacation.
It's really hard. When you have a show that night, you're not really off during the day.
Right.
People
No.
need to understand.
Right,
that.
right.
So my
That's
second.
the one thing when you're sitting alone in a hotel room, you say to yourself, well, at least nobody else knows how miserable I am. They probably
Right.
think I'm having a great time.
So my second marriage, I married a stand-up comedian. You know
Peach,
her,
yeah.
Peaches Rodriguez. I always tell this story. Maybe you can relate to it. I had the worst show of my life in the Catskills. They moved me to another room. They were dancing. They turned off the music. Nobody wanted a comedian. I go up. I had to do a half an hour to get paid.
I can't get
paid.
this story enough.
I tried everything, crowd work, material, back to crowd. I bombed big time. And you know the feeling when you get off stage.
No,
and you know it a lot. And I sat down and I got the flop sweat and I had just done so terribly. And I sit down next to Peaches Rodriguez, at the time my girlfriend, and she leans over to me and she goes, I think I could have got him. And I
You're
just
not
went,
miserable
"Oh."
enough, and then just
Yeah.
spike.
Here's another. Here's another one.
Oh,
But that's like Leanora has been around the business, been around us for so long
Yeah.
that she knows what time are you napping on a Saturday or
Yeah,
Friday,
yeah.
what food are you eating that's going to get you through, and then are you going to go to the diner afterwards? Like she knows all of a comic's
The routine.
preparation.
Right.
The routine.
She knows the routine
Yep.
of what a comic's life should be, and you know.
And we all think we're so spontaneous. Not even, you know.
Very predictable.
Well, I gotta say, you guys really are the perfect couple. I mean, you were just
Thank
so
you.
terrific, and you look great together.
She's
you go
perfect.
well.
perfect.
You know, when you're with her,
It brings you up.
We love each other, right?
Yeah.
We can kiss on camera. It's okay.
Still get embarrassed.
excuse me,
This is her this is her first time ever doing any TV show. Do you know
and
that? Oh no, wait a minute.
Well-
You did the cook Emerald Lagasse's
Oh, yeah.
show. You did.
Yeah, that was-
Oh, you spoiled it. I thought this was a.
now
No,
I
and actually, Peter put me on stage once. Do you remember that?
I did.
When we did a roast for Joe
Oh,
at the
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
East Side.
at
Yeah.
East Side, and you said to me, "Are you going up?" And I said, I'm not going. I had no intention of. I had no act. He wrote me an act standing at the bar.
You did?
And yeah, yeah.
yes.
So I have to assume you bombed.
He wrote it.
Actually, not. She
That was
killed.
not a. That was not a shot at you, obviously.
No, but
Well-
that was the one and only time.
Well, on behalf of all comedians, thank you for putting up with the lifestyle and the craziness and, let's be honest, the insecurities that we have, because you can have so many great shows in a row and then you come home after one bad one and you think,
You know what? The classic
Right? Am I
case
right?
of that
Yeah.
was the
Yeah.
Florida comic strip. There was only one show a night, but you worked 7 nights a week.
Yeah.
But it was Monday through Sunday, and I know that you experienced this too.
yeah,
It would crescendo, like, you know, it'd be better on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and then Friday, and then Saturday night there'd be 450 people, and you destroy the place. But then you had to come back and do Sunday, and it'd be like 12 people,
Yep.
Right.
and you go home with the taste of the Sunday night show in your mouth, you know,
Yeah.
which is just so horrible.
Yeah.
You know, I'll tell you one of the great things, and it's great when you find out that other people are experiencing the same things. Like the first time you find out other people have dreams that they forgot their act, or they don't know the script, or I forgot to take this course. Why am I taking the final, right? And I was reading one of those Steve Allen books, and everybody wrote a chapter. And Bill Cosby had a chapter called The Face. And he was saying how you're doing comedy and you're killing a crowd, and you spot that one person that is just not laughing, and it
Yeah.
just wrecks it. And in your mind, you're like, I'm gonna get that damn guy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get that, and then you don't get him. You know.
Yeah.
But then when you read that somebody else, you know, especially like a Bill Cosby experienced the same thing, you know. One of the great things that ever happened to me in my life was the first time I heard the expression flop sweat. I always thought that chill going up the back of your neck was God's way of telling you you're not made for entertainment. I honestly thought that, you know. I used to, you know, the millions of years ago when I actually had an act, not just jokes, I said, if you want to know what it feels like for a comedian to experience flop sweat, think about the last time you sat on the toilet, but you forgot to put the ring down, and you went sailing past where it's like, I'm a jerk, you know, like.
what
Ugh.
what a wonderful story there, Jackie.
It's a great story.
That's great.
It's a funny story.
Flop sweat is if you're doing it right. Sometimes in a positive way you could have flop sweat.
Yes.
But if you're doing it wrong, there's flop sweat. So if you got no sweat at all, then you just
Right, you got to
just
care.
here, yeah.
If you're not a little upset before you go out there,
Yeah.
you know, if you're like, oh, I don't care how I do, you know.
You know, I'm looking at the two of you, and it's late 2022, and you guys look in such a good place, both individually and as a couple. Just
We are.
just look at
I
that.
think we
I
are.
totally
Yeah.
agree.
Just-
I
you-
rubber
you-
stamp
and
that.
I-
Yeah.
So,
We are honored to have both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for Leanora. Thank you for stepping out of your comfort zone for us.
you guys made it easy.
Oh, and
You know,
Joey.
here's what
No,
I
what
just,
the hell? Hold on. Leonard, do 5 minutes.
I bet she can.
Peter's got to write it for me.
Yeah, she's can. You know, I'm here to say to all the younger comedians, and I mentor about 12 different comedians
Right.
now, and some of them have, you know, girlfriends or in relationships, and they're worried about being able to make a living at stand-up comedy. The only way that you can make a decent living at stand-up comedy, where you're going to be able to stay sane, is to be connected to somebody who's going to keep the ship going for you. Both of you are with somebody now, and I know both of them very well. And I was lucky enough to have my rock here with me 42 years. And without her, I'd be zip,
Aw.
nothing.
Now, isn't that
And that's
just
just it.
that's just
This
nice?
is forget about sitcoms in your career. This is what the relationship you have to work on first and foremost.
See,
The good part of life.
this has been our latest episode of Stand-Up Memories. Once again, Leanora Kola, Joey Kola.
Friends for 4 decades?
42
over
years.
4
I know
decades
both of
I've
you
known
42
this guy.
years. We know both of you 42
Yeah.
years now,
Yeah.
right?
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of good times.
Jackie
And we're
the
still
Joke
having
Man,
fun.
Still having fun.
We're
Still
Still
having fun. Jackie the
Yeah.
Joke Man, Martling.
Peter Bales.
Bales.
Wait, Professor Bales,
Well,
who has a comedy college.
That's right, standupuniversity.com. Thanks for the plug.
Footprint here, footprint,
Footprint there. That's one of my old bits. I haven't done it in so long.
What,
And
since last night?
everybody, thank you for watching. And we'll be back next week with another episode of Stand Up Memories.
No, wait, one more
What?
thing.
Okay, of course.
You said you mentioned someone that watches every episode. I think you should give him a
Steve-O,
shout out.
our friend Steve-O in California. Hi, buddy. I hope you're watching these
Terrific guy,
episodes.
terrific comedian.
Another guy I started out with, which is another one of the backbones of my comedy career, and still a very, very good friend of mine. And he watches every episode.
It's nice to give a shout out to him.
Of course, yeah.
I still remember 7 years old, the Murray Mailman wishing me a happy birthday on TV. I was like, you don't forget these things.
Yeah, you remember that.
Hey,
so.
this is the place for Stand Up Memories. See you again. Hey, a new episode of Stand Up Memories every Wednesday.
How exciting is that?
Starring me, Peter Bales, and right here, Jackie the Joke Man, Martling.
Please follow us on social media. Search it out. What is it? Me space?
MySpace,
Your space?
TikTok, Instagram, Facebook.
Doodah, doodah.